Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
That's crazy.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here along with Tye, Otto, Dave Venandi, and Doug Milson. How you boys doing today?
Excellent. Yourself?
Not bad. Mr. Venandi, I've heard you've really never listened to the podcast, kind of don't know what's up. Maybe the first time listening to the theme song.
First time in the theme song. I think I'm about 5 minutes deep total in the podcast, so this is all new. All new.
Hey,
He didn't know he had to talk. He's like, I have to say something? He just thought he was
I
here
just
for,
sat in the corner.
for the looks, but no.
so how did you get on here then if you weren't really up to speed?
Tye texted me about 700 times and eventually wore me down, and here I am.
Wow, what a salesman.
I hit people that I know live relatively close because I'm like, it's a 30-second drive. You can make it. So
30
it
seconds
worked.
drive, 15 minutes late. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't have to put the kids to bed, so
There
that's
you
a
go.
bonus.
Hey, that's a positive. And then
Sure.
we have Mr. Tye Otto again. 2 weeks ago he came back. He's all of a sudden addicted. He wants some more.
I happy to be back. I got a little addicted to it. I wanted to be back, and it seems to be good luck because if I sign up for it, our team wins the week before. Because if I don't sign up for it, we don't win. So.
And as he was saying before, he was asking about the download history on his episode. It was mediocre at best, I would say. But just to give him some credit, his episode did do very well in our YouTube video. I don't know why. Why would you want to look at that face during this?
I mean, I check it every day, twice a day, if I'm being honest, and our views are just kicking the 22 podcast ass. I mean, they have like 16, and we have like 67.
Now I want to see it. What? Seriously?
You never saw ours?
You can see the stats?
The view. I mean, if you
No,
go to
I need to
YouTube,
see
there's
it.
the views. I mean, our views are kicking everyone's ass. So, I mean,
It's
that's why I showed
67.
up late. I told Dave, I'm like, the show doesn't start till we show up. I'm like, we're divas now.
So as always, you can give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. We have a message coming up a little bit later in the show. Send us an email at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow, subscribe on Twitch. I know my next subscription through Amazon Prime is coming up tomorrow, so I won't be forgetting that. Rate and review the podcast. And if you're interested in joining the lineup like Mr. Venandi did, go to the podcast lineup on stats.mnlhl.com. Let's move on to a few news, rumors, and other topics as well. So the first thing on the agenda would be you have 1 week left in voting for the All-Star Game. Get those votes in. If you go to the announcement channel, look for November 18th. You'll be able to see where the ballot is. Mr. Venandi, have you voted for the All-Stars as of yet?
I have not.
Why not?
I don't know, but all
he doesn't
you
do
guys,
shit.
I mean,
He doesn't do shit.
I-
He doesn't do the podcast. He doesn't do Slack. He doesn't vote. He quite frankly, doesn't score very often.
no, I don't score for shit. I don't even know if I have a point.
What's
this
wrong
year,
with
to be honest with you. I mean,
I have
I've
more
got nothing
podcast
against
appearances
it.
than I do points.
Me too. Well, goals.
So that's a no. Doug, did you vote?
Yes. I did it all wrong, though. I had forwards as defensemen and defensemen as forwards. But I think we all did that, right?
I think
No,
No,
I didn't do that
Is
because I
Trent,
know
is
who.
Trent a forward?
No.
Is Judge a
Well,
forward?
no, Trent's played forward every game this year. Hasn't played
Yeah.
defense once.
Oops.
he was listed on the defenses.
Yeah, he's the number one voted defenseman.
Yeah, see,
So I don't even know how that worked.
this is why I can't be trusted. Except for beating you in the spring, I can't be put in responsible for anything. Oh, yeah. There it is. The look of death. I got it early.
Anyway, so next week on the podcast, still seeing if Drager's coming in, if he's going to send the people to me. We're going to be announcing the All-Star teams live, and then I think the next week after that, we'll actually be trying to do drafting teams live as well. So remember that. A few other things. Next week.
Wait, you didn't ask me if I voted.
Did you vote?
Yes, I voted. But I mean, you went to Dave, then you went to Dougie, and then is this racism? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
So you voted. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I did vote. I voted immediately, and it was a difficult. I forgot to vote for Proctor, so I sent my ballot in without Proctor, and then I kind of felt guilty, and I was going to do an emergency. Can I fix that? I'm like, oh, Proctor's going to win it anyway. I mean, he's going to make the All-Star team, so I wasn't worried.
Probably.
And then I saw Pfister was like leading, and like I felt a little guilty. I'm like, not that Pfister shouldn't be because he's leading the league in points, but I'm like, okay, I didn't even give my vote for Proctor, so I felt a little guilty. And then I left Turtle Tim off because he hasn't been there, but then he shows up and he, leads the Ducks to a momentous surprise victory of the other day. So I felt a little guilty about that because I didn't know if Turtle was ever coming back. So, anyways, that was just my opinion. I'm glad you got around to me.
Well, for the record, we do appreciate you voting. The more participation we have in the league, the better.
That was so long and detailed.
Well,
you really wanted to give that hot take.
Well, no, I mean, I just was wondering why. Is it just because I'm wearing a North Star shirt?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm the only one without the team colors tonight.
Make sure you're staying close to the mic, Doug.
I'm the only one without team colors on tonight.
You're just not a team player. Drager, I believe, is listening. He probably will put that in his notebook about possible
His
trade targets
folio
because of
is
that.
full of Dougie Fresh notes, yes.
I just don't ever take this thing off.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
They are cool. I mean,
It's
I
cozy.
Like them. I'm jealous of those.
Those are like skate laces.
Those are nice.
I mean,
Those are extra scale laces in case they
whatever.
break. You're like, oh, wait,
it's
I
not
gotta
a
go.
big deal.
Next thing on the agenda is actually this coming week 14, unless otherwise modified, is going to be the last week of Bender overtime. What are our thoughts on Bender overtime? As I think we're all Benders here, so do we all like it? Don't like it? Too much pressure? Not enough pressure? Don't care?
Well, I'll take my turn. Sure. I think I discussed this the last time we were on the podcast. So, and we were obviously everyone loves the Bender overtime, and we were excited that it got extended. But I don't think it's ever since my last podcast, like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I don't think there's been an overtime.
I don't think so.
God. I mean, what are the chances of that? We love it so much, so I think they should extend it 7 more weeks. No, just it's not fair. So it's fine. It was good while it lasted. I'm sad that no more. I don't think any other games have gone to overtime.
I mean, we still have one more week of it, the possibility happening, so we can hope for that. I wouldn't be opposed for extension as well, but we do have to be fair. We probably have to start going into the rules that we would have in the playoffs, and I really don't think it would be fair to do Bender overtime in the playoffs, but that's just my thoughts. I mean, it would probably give the North Stars such an advantage when you have someone like the Sniper on your team.
What was the question?
Would Bender overtime be too much of an advantage in the playoffs for you guys with having people like Troy?
No, in the playoffs, it's all you just play your best team. There's no. This isn't liberal. This is not a liberal world. This is just hockey. You play your best players, and you do it. Your Benders might have proven themselves and get a little ice time, but this isn't. Everyone gets a ribbon. Everyone gets a medal. Through the season, it's fair because we are part of the team and we deserve a little time out there. But there's no playoffs. No one wants to. You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose the playoffs with anything but your best. You're throwing it out there. So even though we do matter and you matter, like I said the last time, you got to just roll with your best team.
But Andy, what do you think of Bender overtime? Have you enjoyed it, or does it matter to you?
I'm going to say, generally speaking, I'm gassed by that point. So I'm ready to shut it down.
Shut it down. Shut it down. He's anti-Bender. Like,
out
I
there.
don't want to
I
go out.
wanna play.
He's more. Do
I
I have to go out there, Coach?
Yeah, I got 45 minutes. That's it.
So,
That's it. So
the 45 minutes is enough for you, and then you're just like, leave it to the guys that are in shape to get the rest done.
Yeah, 45 minutes, I'm gassed, and then you go 3-on-3, and that is too much ice. It's just shut it down. It's time to take my helmet off.
It's time for the big boys to play.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Spectator time.
Yeah, I think we should carry through to the playoffs, though. Let the boys play, and in the playoffs, it's not like it's a big adaptation period. Let them go. Let the big boys go in the playoffs. It's fun, man.
Oh, you think do
I think
Bender
we
the
should-
whole season and
Yeah,
then let the
just
big
keep
boys?
Benders going for the whole season. That way they get a
Now
shot at
I
it.
wouldn't be against that because it's proven that it's so few. It's like the games are. There hasn't been that many. There aren't that many ties, and I'm actually surprised at how few ties there are. The teams are equal. Teams, there's parity. I can't believe there aren't more ties, but there aren't. That's just the way it is. So it's not that big of a game, but
It's fun.
I actually like it. I actually like that idea, but it's never gonna pass. Believe me, as a person in the ivory tower here, there's some big assholes in there. Big assholes.
It's actually a topic that people care about, though.
Yeah. Oh, they care about everything. I
hear the ivory tower.
I am the least caring person in the ivory tower, and sometimes they like threaten to kick me out because I don't care. I don't take their, everything they want. They micromanage it to like.
I question however you were got in that tower. I mean, how
I mean,
GM.
Nepotism with the
Tie.
autos.
Yeah, he's still Tye.
Yeah. Well, I'm in there, but I've almost gotten kicked out a couple times, and they told me to get serious.
Speaking of going back and forth with the ivory tower, the trade deadline has now been set. Earlier today, I asked the podcast room, do we have a trade deadline? Originally, it was like, it could be anywhere from next Tuesday to the following Monday. They're like, we're not really sure right now. And then it went from December 16th at 8 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's now been locked into essentially the Monday, December 16th, 4 p.m. So essentially 5 hours before that last rotation of games.
Oh, man. Imagine a trade that day, and you're playing for a different team that night, like 4 hours later.
Well, I guess the only good thing about that could possibly be is, you won't get screwed on a bye in that rotation. So you won't have two buys that you have to deal with. So that's a possible good thing. Now, if you get traded in this next week over to, I believe the North Stars have the bye, that would be a bad thing because then you'd have two buys in a rotation. Outside of that, North Stars, what we'll cover in a second, have had a lot of trades. So I don't know if I see another move happening in the next week or so, but you never know with Troy and Tye.
You never know, and that vote took place today, and I was I'm all about pushing it as far back as possible. And the reasons why you do want a trade deadline, I think the reasons are you want to make teams establish themselves and be what they are going into the playoffs. You don't want some crappy team trading away all their good players. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the last place team, the Ducks, are going to have hope, and it's not like they're going to do some crappy trade where they trade all their good players for crap just to help somebody out. That I don't even envision that would happen, but we'd have ways of vetoing that trade. So I voted for the latest possible trade deadline. As long as everyone you'll be the team you are. You have one full rotation, and that's plenty of time to be what you are and going into the playoffs.
So that's the thought then, one full rotation.
Yeah, I just pushed it all the way back.
Okay, I see it.
I mean, doing it today? Like, so if we made it like tomorrow, what?
Okay.
I mean, I'm all about pro trade. Obviously, I'm on the North Stars, and we talk. I mean, we may have not made the most trades throughout the years. I think we have, but we don't always trade. But believe me, we're always thinking about trades every single day. Multiple texts every single day. What do you think? What do you think about this? Who's better? Should we trade this? Do we need Dougie? Do we need Twinkle Toes? Do we need, what do we need? Do we need to get Piercy? Piercy's always wanted to be a North Star. Let's get him on the team. He wants to wear it. His
One
hatred.
can dream.
Yeah, his hatred is obviously he's got that little syndrome that some people have. Once they come here, they love us and they love being on the team. But
Also, just remember, a dream can also be a nightmare.
Oh,
that's true.
I don't know,
That's
man.
true.
Look at Gio last night, man.
We'll get to that in a second. So, like we were just saying, we had two trades that happened. One of them was announced on last week's podcast, the podcast that will not be spoken of again. I don't think there was a whole lot of analysis going on as far as the trades were going on. So I think we're going to review that trade, review the other one. We'll kind of say who we think won each trade, and then we'll review the teams and kind of think if that team got better or worse. So our first trade was, like we said, it was between the North Stars and the Nordiques, two representatives. The North Stars are getting Pistol Pete and Gio. The Nordiques got Darren Cunningham and Judge. Dougie, you're on the Nordiques. You haven't actually got to look at that new lineup yet in action.
Right.
What are your thoughts on the trade from the initial reaction? Your initial reaction to the trade?
I like it. I'm gonna miss both those guys because of the skill for sure, and just because it's fun, especially when we're, I think we've got maybe 2 or 3 wins. When we were winning, it was awesome, just like any other team. It's been super fun, but for the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been tough. So I think a move was necessary, and I applaud Jeremy for doing that. But my only hesitation is I found out after the fact that something might be up with Darren. I had no idea until then. I thought we did just played him and that he was healthy. That I don't know if it's an actual thing or not. That's my last night I was learning about that and we were talking about it and I was starting to get a little bit worried about the fact of is there going to be a health situation because that's been killing us this year.
So from reports, I can report that I know Darren 2 weeks ago did miss because of his elbow. Me and him had some
elbow.
Me and him had some contact about 3 weeks ago. Hit the ice, he fell down. I talked with his father on Thanksgiving.
Not him.
Well, his
This is hearsay, by the way.
This is great.
Damaged goods from the North Stars.
Darren and his
Damaged
new
goods.
wife Stephanie, they were hosting Thanksgiving for her side of the family when everybody else on my side of the family were together. So I saw him. Said it wasn't that big of a deal. He fell down. His elbow pad kind of moved out of the way. It was just a bone bruise, just something that kind of, a little bit painful for a while, but nothing serious,
Okay.
nothing that should stop him from playing. So as far as that goes, you should feel pretty good there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that there was some sort of misdeed by the Stars where they're trading somebody that was injured. When I heard about it, I'm like, shit, man. Because I was pumped when I heard about it because I thought that when we played Judge and you guys the first time we played you, that he was the difference maker. That he was the guy that was making the difference in terms of gaining possession, keeping possession, making a forward play, and he was awesome. So when I think about having him on the team, I'm excited. But we'll have to see how it works out. It's easy to see it on paper, but on ice it's going to be something else entirely. So crossing my fingers for sure.
Let's go to the other side. We have a North Stars representative here. What are your initial thoughts on why you guys pulled off this trade?
Why we pulled off the trade. We were obviously trying to sabotage the Deeks. So when we first did the Monday Night Lights podcast, I put in my vote. You do the standings, and I put the Deeks as last. So I'm like thinking, how can we fuck the Deeks? The Deeks have been kind of staying above the Ducks. So I'm like, we need to give them injured goods. We need to give them somebody who can't. What is Piercy doing?
There's a phantom guest.
Do we have a surprise guest coming?
Are we about to be attacked?
I don't know. You know what? Let's get out of here.
Does Piercy have a girlfriend coming over? It is a girlfriend! Oh!
Nice.
Oh!
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know you guys were. This is a cute couple. You guys are good.
So, just for a little bit of background
sight for
about
sore eyes.
what they're talking about is all of a sudden on
buddy?
Slack, I see a message from Ryan Allen. Let me in. I go, where? He's like, your house. I run over to the door, and there's Mr. Ryan Allen joining us for the podcast right now.
All right. Well.
So,
welcome.
Just super quick, I kind of missed some of Tye's stuff, but Vanandi, let's get a quick background on what you thought of that trade.
I'm going to say the Gio was a bear for you guys last year.
Yeah.
He was tough. And
Yes,
then
he is.
I feel like Pistol, as much as he fought it, he always wanted it. he wants to be wanted by the Otto.
Exactly, and that was what I was referring to as the Piercy thing. When someone hates it so much, you know they want you. And I know Piercy wants me.
Who doesn't? But yeah, no, I think it was good.
Yeah.
It was. You got a couple of feisty pricks that are going to be good for you.
Yeah, it's
And
good.
you guys are good too. I mean, you got good players too, for sure.
Real quick, let me give my thoughts on the trade then. I'm going to give this trade an advantage to the North Stars. I personally think they got the best player in the trade of Pistol. To me, Pistol going into the season, I'm not 100% sure as of right now, was the fourth best player going into the draft. He got drafted, 8 overall. So I thought that was a steal going back over there. Gio, we all saw what he could do for the North Stars there. I kind of feel like he's the third best player in this trade as well. So I feel like they got 1 and 3 in this trade. And on the other side, the Nordiques came back with probably 2 and 4. So I just think with that advantage over there, I'm going to give that edge over to the North Stars on this trade. Now, that was actually followed up by our second, or actually real quick, I think we both kind of know who thinks who won who. But Nandi, who do you think actually won the trade? I don't know if you said it or not. Sorry, while I was letting in Ryan Allen.
It's hard to say because, I think those guys fit the North Stars style for sure. So from that standpoint, I think you got a couple dudes that are feisty, and I think they'll work better for you. So probably North Stars, but it's hard to say. They're all good players for sure.
Hey, we give our opinions here, as the trusted voice here, as the rest of us, we got to give
North
those
Stars
thoughts.
are improved.
Yeah, exactly. So
I told Dave to just let it all out today because he was a little reserved, and I said, if you have any hot takes, this is I told him last time I was on the podcast, I trash talked the Whalers to
It didn't work.
all
did it?
end, and he had no idea. So I learned he's like, I had no idea that you trash talk. I'm like, Dave P was on here saying, I'm gonna kill. I read the comments as I'm saying them. I'm gonna kill you. They threw it with obviously with his. No teeth. He was like, I'm gonna kill you. And Claus was out in here, but I was surprised you had no idea.
No
You
idea.
said the Whalers never said anything.
No idea.
But I know the Whalers were fired up.
But it
for
makes
this
sense
game.
because we kicked your teeth in that game.
Yeah,
we?
well, that's what I'm saying. The point is, just let it all out. If you have
Sure.
anything, hot takes or anything, don't feel like you've got to.
I'm just saying they're all good players, but I think those guys fit your team better than the other two. Yeah.
So that moves us over to the second trade of the week. This was actually between the North Stars and the Tigers. The North Stars are getting Joey Ellis and Officer Riley. The Tigers are going to be getting Crunk and Hetes. As I'm already prepared with the North Stars, let's hear your side of this trade, Ty.
So the first trade that we already spoke about that happened, and we knew that you were having all the goalies and a bunch of degenerates and going to get too drunk, and it was going to be a terrible podcast with terrible ratings, and we wanted to make it biglier and better. Biglier and huge, and so we decided to have the trade announced. Troy called in on the podcast and tried to save the ratings as all these goalies got drunk. They came in with their masks on, and it was just hard on the ears. And so
Fact.
It put me to sleep. I went in and out a couple times. I'm just like, I think I can go back, but it was just every time I was just jabbing my ears with like four voices just going at the same time. So we had that trade, we announced it, and then the next trade came up kind of during the podcast. Troy's texting me, and it was for a goalie. I mean, goalie trades, we have trades in spring, but a goalie trade is kind of whoo. And Spicy Tender, he's a very vocal person on our team, and Crunk is very beloved. He's a loved soul on our team. We love Crunk. I mean, he's the heart and soul. When he came, one of the best moments of the season is when he brought his wife and his son to the game, and he ended up. I mean, a 10th rounder just says, "Okay, my family's in the stands. I'm gonna score." He does. And he just put a goal in and helped us to victory. So the talks were there during the podcast after we announced the first trade. We decided to sleep on it, and as soon as Troy woke up, before Troy went to sleep, I said, I'm in. I like it. I said, I think Riley's just as good of a goalie as Spicy. And I'm like, we get Joe Ellis. He's down on his luck. He's under terrible management at the Deeks because they don't have very good GMs.
Tigers.
Or Tigers. Oh, he's on the Tigers. Okay, yeah, Tiger. No, he's got good management. He has very good management at the Tigers, but he's just not being used right, and he's been down on his luck. We are getting him at a stock. If he was a stock, we were buying him very, very low. I mean, every time you talk to Joe Ellis out on the Labatt's Boo party deck, it's just like, I'm terrible. I'm horrible. He's just so depressed. So we're like, you know what? That's true. I mean, I talked to him only a couple times. He's missed a lot of games, and he's just sad and miserable. And I'm like, you know what? He's not that bad. He's not that bad. And, as much as we love Crunk, let's just do it. Let's roll with it. So I texted that to Troy before we went to sleep. And then in the morning, like 7:30 a.m., he's like, I want to do it. So we're like, boom, 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 let's do it. And we had already had Steve Andrus, who's Doc Hollywood, subbing in for Suitsy. So we're like, this is huge changes, but let's just do it. Let's roll with it. And we did. And,
So during Troy's soliloquy right there, I was able to set up a fifth mic for Mr. Ryan Allen. I don't know how the volumes are quite yet or anything like that, but let's move over to him. Welcome him to the podcast and kind of see your thoughts on this trade.
Yeah, I really appreciate you letting me barge in here and join the party. It's got some good guys here. I wasn't sure who I was going to see, but I'm glad I showed up. Got to have a voice for the Tigers here. Or is it the Nordiques? I'm not sure.
I still see you in that baby blue outfit.
Yeah. Well, we had some good times last season.
Yeah.
But moving on to bigger and better things on the Tigers here. Pretty excited to be GM in this season and very excited about the trade as well. Think you're kind of right there about Joey Ellis. You know, someone's got to fill the shoes of Mr. Chad Polinsky being down on his luck all the time.
Yeah. There you go. He was kind of filling that role, like not on Slack, but on the best blue party day.
Yeah, no, we love Joey, and we really enjoyed playing with Riley as well. Like I told the guys on the Tigers, trades are part of the game, and it's all about finding the right puzzle pieces to get to the keg. And everyone in this league contributes in a unique, special way. So we just had to make some moves, and hopefully it's better for both teams.
How much of Mr. Ellis's attendance / injuries this year had to do with trading him away?
I mean, it was a little bit difficult at times, because we're hustling to get subs each week. But, Joe was there for us when he could be, and it was out of his hands when he was not able to make it, and we were able to get good subs. So not really a major issue. It was just a matter of finding those right pieces to make it all work with our offense.
Now, going back over to the North Stars, we all know, I'm going to say Troy, maybe, well, you're a bender, so I guess Troy likes to have you as the only bender on the North Stars. He's kind of had a history of that with his trades the last couple of years, and obviously he's kind of went back to that strategy with these couple of trades. Was that talked about when you guys were making these trades? Like, we got to get rid of these benders. We got to have that solid lineup that can take advantage of against any line we're going against. Was that the thought on making these trades?
I'm not going to lie. Obviously, our past history has been we have traded pre-draft. We've traded every single season to try to eliminate. We find there's a tremendous value in balance and having non-benders on the ice. I would state that Troy hasn't scored in the last three games. So, like the non-bender, he's sniper and he's fantastic and everything, but it's not like he's not the world's greatest. He's not Wayne Gretzky out there, but like these 3 games, it's been very quiet. He hasn't scored in 3 games. That's a fact. And so it's not always Tye's just the shittiest player on the ice. My freaking line was out there for every goddamn goal yesterday, except for one, and didn't let up any. And so, what was the question?
It's a hot take right there. Sounds like there's trouble.
What was the goal of this trade to help to get you guys to be bender free?
Obviously, we always have that theory. I'm not going to lie and shoot. Yes, we loved Crunk, and as far as a bender goes, he was about as positive, and he would take instruction and he would listen and he would try, and I think he is extremely valuable to the Tigers. So it's not that he's not a bad player, and obviously that was shown. He played and won 2 games yesterday. He subbed for the Seals and won. He played for the Tigers and won. Crunk is an amazing human. He even returned his jersey and his socks. I mean, what else? I mean, that says a lot about the man right there. And when I called him, he didn't call me an asshole. When I tried to call him and tell him he was traded. So we love Crunk, but. Yes, we thought, okay, we can get Joey who can catch a pass. He's down on his luck. Maybe we can change it and give him a recipe for success.
So, going over to some outside sources or outside perspectives here. Doug, what are your thoughts on this trade? Who won the trade?
I don't think anybody won. When I hear these things about Joey, I just think I had my own experiences with him in the spring, and he is again, he's just waiting to go off, and then you're waiting for his health. Like, right, you alluded to that, right? That in his attendance, and if he starts to get some momentum going, he's going to snipe. It's about to happen. That's why we draft him where we draft him. When he gets a couple good shots off, they're a high probability of going in. It's much like Busta. if he gets a good shot and a good spot to do it, it's probably going in. Gets really down on himself, and I've seen it. But with a little positivity, and we had some good mojo going in the spring, I thought it was awesome, and he can show awesome spurts. So I think it's kind of a wash. I mean, I personally think that Hetes has got just a little bit more edge, just because Riley's so quiet. Like you just get the colorful, you get the flares out of Hetes, which can spark a team, and it's really fun. And Riley is very quiet at all times, which can also be a beautiful thing, depending on what you're needing at that time. But last night I was taking a good look at Crunk because I haven't had a whole lot of time to watch him, and he was hustling like crazy. So, I mean, it's hard to say. To this one, it seems like a wash. I think that it's not going to be quite as polarizing as the first trade might end up being in the end, because it seems like it's a little bit more flammable. This one just seems like it's maybe, I don't know what the real reason. I don't feel like either one of you, I think you're both being diplomatic here. You each had your reasons, and I'm not sure what they are, and hopefully they turn out for you, but I think it's probably just going to end up helping both teams in the right way. So there's no win.
I'll spell it out for you. The Tigers said, okay, we can just get Spicy Tender, who's probably known as a better goalie, and we don't, we already have the Taylor brothers who are insane. We have a great lineup. And like I said, it's just like we have always prided ourselves on balance. And I'm not saying if there was 1/10th rounder you wanted, I mean, Crunk is that. I mean, it's nothing against Crunk. He showed heart, and he's a great guy.
Man?
Definitely don't want Dave because he doesn't even fucking participate in Slack, the podcast. He doesn't even know. I asked him
Do you look at Slack though? Do you read it at least?
I do. Yeah.
Do you giggle to yourself reading that?
I peruse until I get lost too far down, and then I don't know what anyone's talking about, and then I read them out.
So we've had enough of you in this trade real quick.
Sorry. All right, I'm sorry.
Let's go over Venandi real quick. Do you have any thoughts on this trade of a winner versus a loser?
No, I think Crunk played very well last night. We played against him, and he's been played great the multiple times we played against him. Joe, I think Joe's going to be fine. Joe's been great the last few years, and he'll get it going. Yeah, it seems like I think Hetes is probably the better goalie. So I think I think the North Stars gave up. In all these trades, gave up a fair amount of defense, I think, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, my thoughts on the trade is I'm going to call this one a draw. I think I'm thinking the Tigers thought they had enough offense as of now. If you look at the last 2 weeks, Matt Taylor has really picked it up. He's looked like a different player. He's been playing a little bit harder. He's been showing up more consistently. It's Slocum, right? He's your second or third rounder. He's been picking up. He's been scoring a lot of goals there. You still have, your Skillmans. You have your Chris Taylors. I think they thought they had enough offense, and I think when you look at last night's game, from everything I heard, and we'll get to that a little bit later, Matt Taylor's just on another level where you can give up some of that offense. You put that goaltender in there that your hope is going to win you 1 or 2 games in the playoffs, and that's what they're looking for that success there. So that's kind of my thought on this trade. So real quick, we're going to go through each team. We're not going to go through the old team versus the new team, but just kind of, did this team get better? Did this team get worse? So if we're looking at the North Stars real quick, these are projected lineups. They don't have to be perfect. Oh, another thing with Joe I wanted to point out as well is, yes, Joe has had attendance issues, but even with the sub rule, if you essentially get rid of that, you have to bring in that sub, you're still getting a better player than Crunk. So it still improves that roster as well. So even with Joe missing, it still helps you out. Now, you don't have that cohesiveness of having lines that are used to each other and all, but realistically, you should be able to bring in a better player than what you had before. So with our North Stars, we're looking at a lineup of Joey Ellis, Pistol, and Troy, followed by Tye, Doc Hollywood, and Gio, followed by a Marvin, Gramm, Maff, Sikorsky, and Riley. Did this team get better or worse? We'll just go around the room. If you have any thoughts, go ahead. You can just say yes or no, or give any thoughts on top of that. Doug, we'll start with you.
Are the North Stars better? I think yes. Watching the game last night, it was balanced and there was speed and feistiness. Granted, Pete and Gio are on brand new teams, and they have a little bit of extra vigor going on. So I think that they did improve, and I thought that they were already a solid team. And I think that from what I've seen from Riley in the last year, like not just this fall season, but he's been solid. So the only question mark for me is Hetes adds more than the goalie in the stopping pucks action, and there's something to be said for that. And so I don't know if that ends up affecting the North Stars positively or detrimentally.
I would say real quick that we have tons of voices in the North Stars locker room. So Spicy, you're right. Spicy shows up. He's got his music blaring. He's like, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yeah.
But I feel like we have, let's,
it's helpful.
Let's go, boys. Exactly.
You can't have too much.
Yeah. But you can't have too much, but we have plenty of loud people. So it's actually kind of nice. Riley doesn't say a word. He just like looks over, looks around. I'm like,
which
I
can
like
be a
this
blessing
guy.
too.
I like it.
Yeah.
Venandi, better or worse for the North Stars?
I think they're better. I think those guys fit their team better. But, time will tell.
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, it reminds me of North Stars of old, back in the day. I don't know. It's just something about that combination just screams North Stars to me. And I think they're back to their roots is what it is.
Scream shit your pants.
We're
in the
skipping
playoffs.
Tye because he's an unbiased opinion as a GM. I also think they've improved their team. I think they have a lot more scoring on there. I don't think their goaltending is, that much worse. So I think they're going to be better overall. Looking at
one last comment on that though. Doc Hollywood's a wild card here, man. That has to be said.
Yeah, I don't know that guy.
I watched the game last night, and Suits is a great player. And I know what you and Troy were going for with that, and with the 200-foot game, going to the corners.
You know where
hustle.
we were going with Suits?
When you drafted Suits.
We didn't know. So I don't know how you knew because
Troy's, I think he's inferred or even directly said to me the intent was that he wanted some speed and hustle on 200 feet.
Yeah, but when the real story is...
Your intent was not going Pete. That was your intent.
No, our intent was when we pulled up to, what's the bar? It's the Shamrock?
Yep.
House of Shamrocks.
House of Shamrock. True story. No holds barred. Troy had already texted Pete a bunch of times. He's like, you're on the... He was on Slack. He's like, congratulations. We're going to be back together. That is true story. If I could go to Slack archives and pull it up, that is a true. Pete was on the team. I had a couple cocktails, mingling, then talking and just feeling things out. I talked to 22 Proctor. I'm like, I took him in the corner. I'm like, the North Stars are not afraid to pick new people. Our teams are, we always, since our GMs are down low in the draft, we're benders. We always have we have options up at the top. It's not like we don't have Trent and Serta every single time as our best players. So I asked Proctor, I'm like, what's this Suitsy guy? Should we take him? Is he worth the risk? Pistol. I know Pistol. I don't know Suitsy. And, he Proctor's like, he gave his kind of political correct answer. But in other words, he's like, give Suitsy a role. And
so the
we took
Nordiques,
Suitsy.
their lineup's looking like, I'm going to put Joe Ellis at forward here because of the whole Kimmell thing as of right. Or actually, no, I don't even have Kimmell there. So Joe Ellis, we have Andy Fem and a Justin Wright followed by a Kimmell, a Cunningham, a Drago with Dougie, Sawokis, Judge, and Guma with Cone at our goalie. You're not a GM here. I'm going to let you say better or worse as well, Doug.
But one last point on my wild card statement on the Doc Hollywood. I'm sorry to keep dragging that on, but watching him last night, he's a totally different player, and that really complemented that team.
Yeah.
It created a whole bunch of balance because he's not just full out like top flight speed all the time. There was a lot of puck distribution and creating chances and throwing it off on wild angles. So it helped them, and I want to see how that plays out long term. He's a big reason why I say they're better long term. But for the Deeks, on that lineup you're just giving me, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm excited about the trade. I've played. How many seasons are we in now with Cunningham in the mix?
3.
He's tough to play against, man. He's really tough to play against. As a defenseman, when he's bearing down on you with that heavy wooden stick, and he'll initiate contact as a forward. That always kind of gets in my head a little bit. So he would always have a little bit of my number, and I very much respected his game. So when I learned that he's coming to the team, I was like, that's pretty sweet. I already made my comments about Judge. Judge is freaking awesome. I've seen him as both a forward, as observing him as a non-participating member of the game, and also as a part of the game when he's been on D and just dominating. So I like that. And both those guys gave us both forward and defense versatility, which we've had some injury riddles going on, and we've had a big hole at D. So we needed that versatility. And you know what? There probably is a common consensus that maybe we gave up a little bit, but we gained versatility, and there's value in that. So we'll see how that works out. We have some lineup tinkering to do. Next week is a bad test for us because we got to play the Seals. Watching them last night, we had a good showing last night. I think we had 5 of us observing the game, and I think we're all trying to take notes on the Seals. Sir, how can we actually come up with a game plan to actually slow them down? I'm still not sure what we're going to be able to do, but at least now with that versatility, we may be able to throw a little bit more on the back end versus forcing Kimmell, who volunteered, but forcing him to go back and losing one of our top end forwards who can receive our outlet passes and make an outwards play. So I don't know. I'm feeling very mixed after all that rambling.
Venandi, do you have thoughts, better or worse for the Deeks?
I got to hear the lineup again.
So we're looking at Brennan, Fem, Justin Wright, followed by Kimmell, Cunningham, Drago, and then Milson, Dougie Fresh, Sawokis, Judge, Guma, who's Drager's replacement or fill-in as of now, with Cone at D. Those lineups might not be exact, so it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Pete's a tough one to fill. I mean, he plays both ways. He's tough. Gio skates his ass off, and Judge is a great defenseman. Cunningham's great both ways too. So I mean, in the new people you got, I don't really know. I don't know that much about them, so I couldn't really tell you totally. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you.
Ryan Allen is a GM who should be up on the league. Let's get an opinion from you. It's going to be hard to say, as you know, you have to deal with the ivory tower. But Nordiques, better or worse since the trade?
Yeah, I can't really say either. I haven't seen Panty's replacement out on the ice yet, so not sure how that's going to work out for them. I will say I agree with Dougie Fresh about Cunningham. He was always a pain in the ass to play against, and so he'll do well for them. Tigers had our eyes on Judge as well. We were kind of talking about trying to make something work to get that trade going. Didn't work out for us, but always appreciate the way he plays. So it'll be different for them, and it's going to take a little bit to see how the chemistry plays out.
That's fair. Tye, I'm assuming you have opinions on this.
I do. I think it will be very interesting. I personally, if you were going to ask me, I think the Deeks are in a lot of trouble. I think they're on the verge. They play the Seals this week, and then they play, I believe, if that's true, the Seals this week. I mean, I don't care how much of an improvement you think it is. That's rough. The Seals are I think they're in first. Are they in first?
Points wise, yes.
Well, is there any other wise in our hearts or something? No. So they play them, and then they play us, which will be a judge has already warned us that he's coming at us. So I know we're going to get their best effort. So in 2 weeks, there's no doubt about it, and I've already know how teams play when they're inspired from the last time I did the podcast and trash talk the Whalers. What inspiration matters. As far as the Deeks being better, I think they have a lot of options. Like you said, I had spoken to Dougie before any of this all happened, and I think Kimmell can play defense, and I think he's fine, but I think you're giving up a lot by playing him there. I don't know how this all factors in. I'm assuming Judge will play defense now. Judge is a leader. Judge hates to lose. He is an ultimate competitor, and so I think he's different, though. So and then Cunningham, I knew he got dinged up. I didn't know that it would be like prolonged. We weren't trying to sell damaged goods to the Deeks. So I mean, Cunningham is as good as anyone in the league. He actually has all the skill. He's got size, speed, finesse, and he can see the ice. So they have something to work on. It's there. I think they're in trouble. My honest opinion, yes, their backs are against the wall. I mean, if I was to predict somebody to come in last right now, I'd say the Ducks will overtake them, and I think the Deeks will come in last. But they have a chance and they have a pulse, and they're not dead by any means. But if I was to pick anyone to come in last, it's the Deeks.
Fucking
I
depressing,
personally think this trade is a downgrade for the Deeks. Not by a whole lot. The Deeks, I think I stated before, their lineup that they had was actually better than I originally thought when I looked at the draft. But the big thing, and I stated this in an earlier podcast, I thought their mistake was draft day. They needed one more guy that could help them on the forward line, try to take one more lower-end defenseman there. I think that's hurting them left and right. Now you're essentially throwing Kimmell back there, and now you're stuck, and that whole other line just has no offense. I don't think this trade really fixes that. You're essentially trading two parts that are swapping in for two other parts. I think the Nordiques lost the best player in the trade, so I don't think it helps them. So I actually think this trade hurts them. It's always hard to say when you think your team's sliding backwards. You sit back and not do anything versus try to make a move and see if something happens. So you can't necessarily fault the Nordiques for making the trade. My prediction as of right now is it's not going to work out. Next thing, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Carson, Otto. We're all rooting for you. We've heard about a lot of things. Tye, I don't know if you want to give a little background or, say anything to Mr. Carson.
Is Carson watching right now?
Yeah. I mean, we had Troy mention that. I know we've had Drager say something. They asked to give a shout out as well for things.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's been besides the normal MNL trades and stuff, yeah, it's been a dramatic week for the Otto family, and we definitely, I know Troy and Carson definitely appreciate all the support from everyone. What am I going to say?
Hey,
I mean, it makes no, don't cut me off. Yep, like, come on, geez.
I thought you lost some words.
No, I did lose some words. I mean, it's been, it makes me think. It makes me think of all the injuries in the league. It makes me think of how we should be. I mean, the words "seize the day" or "cherish the day" or make the most of what you have today, and nothing's guaranteed. Makes me comes to mind, and that's for everyone in the world, because you never know. I mean, I was watching Carson's game on Tuesday, and I watched his game, and he's perfectly healthy, playing great, and for Little Caesars. And then on Wednesday, I guess he, in the middle of the night, he went up and went to the restroom, and then at 8:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving, he couldn't move his legs. So I mean,
obviously we're all rooting for Carson. Sounds like he did have some cool guests today. It sounds like the Michigan hockey players did visit him, which is a nice thing. Like I said, I think the main thing is we're gonna give a shout out to him. Make sure everybody in MNL, we're all rooting for him. Everything go good. Everything to be good there. I don't know how many details we want to give on everything, but we're thinking about you. We're thinking about the whole Otto family. Obviously, anything that anybody, anything needed, the MNL will be there for all you guys.
Yeah. Well, I know Troy and Carson appreciate it because hockey's as a referee in the world, and I heard Troy explain this to Gibb last night in the locker room. Hockey's a weird world, and youth sports in general is a strange world. I mean, it's like you have kids and you're acting like it's the NHL or the NBA or the Major League Baseball, and it's just so cutthroat, and coaches are yelling and people are screaming. But when push comes to shove, and things happen like this, it's a tight knit community, and they've all just reached out and gone over and above and reached out, and I know he appreciates it, and Carson does too. So.
Exactly, and it's one of those things. Just like in MNL, we might be on the ice, we might be pissed at each other, but at the end of the day, nobody wants anybody to get hurt, anything bad to happen. We're here for a good time. We're here as a community to support each other and, to try to bring fun and joy to everybody. So let's move on to the next thing. We have our pick'em standings real quick. Let's see. Real quick, Dylan is still in the lead with 31 points, followed by Dave P, 26 points. Troy, 25.5 points. Gio, 25 points. Hetes, 24. And Tye Otto, 24 points. So keep them going. Remember, these points don't consider that we're actually taking out the lowest points, your worst points of the week. So someone like Dylan, who hasn't had any goose eggs, he'll be losing points that'll help you catch up. So keep sending those in every week. So let's move on to the first game of the week. We had the Golden Seals defeating the Whalers 2-1. I just want to point out real quick, I know Tye wanted us to do this. When Tye put in this request to be a guest on the podcast,
I wanted to
part of his topics were can the Whalers rebound off?
Just go through my whole. I like all my. I signed us up, and I put all 3 topics. I think the first one is very good.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I this was on 11/20, November 20th. I signed us up, and I put our topics for discussion.
So we might
our
not
life.
go. I'll read them for you.
All right.
We might not go over them all. We're already at the 50-minute mark, but I'll read out the topics just for everybody, and then we'll, as the host, I can reject, I can approve these topics. Topic number 1: life, love, and the pursuit of happiness.
I mean, I think we can always talk about that, and I think that's what MNL is. So
Topic number 2:
fine. Okay.
can the Whalers rebound off their 2-game losing streak to the Tigers and the Seals? Fuck you, Tye.
I don't know how I knew that on 11/20. I mean, I made this request on 11/20, and how am I talking about? Am I Nostradamus?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Topic number 3: did the Ducks / Busta get revenge on Pistol and the Deeks last night?
So I didn't want to let everything out, so I knew Pistol was going to be a North Star. I mean, on 11/20, obviously, but I didn't want to let that out. But I'm like, how did I know that Pistol was going to be playing the Ducks last night on 11/20? And like, there was a revenge, and he didn't get revenge. Pistol got revenge. I don't know how I knew all this on 11/20. How did I know that the Whalers were going to have a 2-game losing streak? How did I know Pistol was going to play the Ducks? I don't know how I knew that. I don't know. It just came to me when I signed us all up. So, I mean, can we just take a moment and appreciate that?
But last week, the Ducks trounced us.
I'm talking about yesterday.
But we're talking about 11/20. That was last week.
I understand, but these are the topics.
These were
for
topics
today's
coming in
last
to
night.
the
So I'm
podcast
asking,
for the date
how
he
did we talk
requested.
about Pistol against the Ducks last night?
I think Ty's trying to tell us he has a hot tub time machine.
I mean,
That's what I was
Fit
trying
right
to
in
tell
that
you.
group.
And how did I know the Whalers were going to have a 2-game losing streak? And can you guys rebound? I mean, you just lost to, who did you lose to? You lost,
We
to,
lost
the,
to the Seals.
and the Tigers. And is that what I said?
That's what you said.
It's,
Anyways,
it's amazing to me.
Are
I'm
you
just,
shitting me? This came in on 11/20.
On 11/20, was it time stamped?
it has a timestamp.
Are you the intel source for all of
I don't
Whoops
know.
betting?
Could it
Are you
be?
the
I mean-
betting source?
I don't know. Maybe I just know things. Maybe
Jordan Spieth is going to win 3 majors this year. It's coming from.
I wish. I love Jordan Spieth,
Yeah.
but that's not happening.
So, anyways, Seals won 2-1 versus us. Real quick, Seals got off to a lead on a goal by Pfister on a breakaway. I tried to catch him from behind, fell on my ass,
you tried to
smashed
kill him,
my
man.
face into the boards.
Concussed.
Possibly. No doctor officially diagnosed it. But anyways, second goal, Trent came back with a goal to tie it up, followed in the third period by another Mr. Pfister breakaway to take the lead. Pulled the goalie, couldn't get another one. Usually try to start out with people that were playing in the game. Mr. Venandi, give us your thoughts on last night's game.
From a personal standpoint, I skated around in circles.
I asked
Like-
you to do this. Go on.
Yeah, sure.
Make it good. And
If
long.
you don't mind. I skated back and forth a lot. I tried not to embarrass myself. I probably did. But no, I thought we played good. I thought we carried play most of the time, and Pfister's good. Pfister slipped out a couple times, and he got us. But outside of that, I thought we outplayed them. I thought we played well, and I think they're beatable.
First of all, I thought both goalies played a great game.
Yeah,
Cam
for sure,
and
for
Dylan.
sure,
Dylan
for sure.
won them that game. I think we probably had the advantage in chances, not by a ton, slight chance over chance on them. I think for the Nordiques, their offense was pretty easy to read. On the defensive end, they usually have the guy on the opposite side of where the puck is, try to leak out into the center, and they look for that pass there. So kind of as a defenseman, you have to be looking, if it's not on your puck, watch your winger there and see if he leaks out. That's the majority of their chances there. Not to say there wasn't chances in our end or anything, but that's what they're looking to do. That's how they're looking to break out and really get those goals on that side of things. Their defense, you have your Whoops and you have your McShannock line. That line is beatable. You get your chances. You get in there. You get nice shots. Dylan is playing great right now. There's no denying that.
That is a wild man. He is a wild man.
You got to beat that. But at the end of the day, you have to give them credit as a team. It went back and forth. It wasn't like we dominated them. Like I said, I think it's always hard because in every time you're playing a game, I think you give yourself a little bit more advantage than it is. So from an outside perspective, it's hard to say. I gave us a slight advantage, but not a whole lot. But at the end of the day, the goalie won, and they were able to put the puck in the net. So that's how it ended. I don't know if any of you guys got to see much of this game, with changing and whatnot.
I did.
So what were your thoughts on it?
So my thoughts on it were very simple. I did not see the third period, so I don't know exactly what happened. But the first period, Dylan just saved. The Whalers were all over their ass. They did everything except for score. There was Peso was on the back door and just that curse he has this season. He couldn't put it in. Somebody hit Trent hit the crossbar one time. I mean, it was just the shots seemed like it was the good chances were at least like 3-1 in my opinion. And the Whalers it was just that typical, you didn't take advantage of the chances you had, and then you lost them, and then the other team did. And it wasn't that high scoring. So in the second period, after you just all this Whalers pressure, when the Seals put one in, it was just kind of deflating. And the only other thing I noted was there was at one point on the first goal, there was this guy named number 7, and he was trying. I know he's the Proctor stopper, some people call him, and I just saw him, and I didn't know exactly what was going on. He had a kind of a clear shot to the net. But there was one man to stop him, this number 7. And I just I don't even know what happened. I was just sitting in the penalty box from a distance, and I saw 7, and I saw it disappear. And then I saw 7, and I saw it disappear. It was like he was rotating in air over and over again. And I thought he threw his stick or lost his stick, and then he goes slamming into the boards super hard. And then Pfister puts his arms up, and he scored. And I think that was you. Was that you, Piercy?
That was me.
I'm glad you're okay. I honestly, when I thought it happened, I was like, holy shit, that's hurt. And then I was like, okay, I didn't hear anything about it. And then I heard you might have concussions and, symptoms. And so I'm glad you're here. And I joke more about it if you didn't say that you were missing hockey on Friday for it. So I hope you're okay. But yeah, that was like the pinwheel, throw the stick, and then Pfister scores. It was like a weird goal.
Yeah, I mean, that one sucked. It wasn't my turnover. I got back. Some people said it looked impressive of how much I actually got back on that. But, yeah, I went slamming. Luckily, my legs/knees hit the boards first, followed by my cage hitting next, which definitely saw a little bit of stars there. But I'm glad my face didn't hit first because that probably would have been a lot worse. Doug, you said you saw a good amount of this game. What were your thoughts?
That was a attempted assault on your part, but I mean it's okay.
Attempted assault?
It was it was egregious, but it was also courageous. So I'll give you that because you guys were both flying and he's got speed. So, and it wasn't his first shot that went in. It was the second effort. Somehow he got another whack at it and it went in, but. Yeah, it was an impressive game for both, and I was saying to Mrs. Claus, I'm like, what the fuck is going on with Dylan down there? Is he always like this? What's he doing? He's like skating when the face-offs are happening. He's skating around by himself, just shouting, random shit, and like throwing his arms up and like tapping his stick everywhere. And she's like, no, that's just him. And then I just started to pay attention to him, and he's yelling nonstop. So. That's kind of what's got me into this little thing about like the energy from the goalie thing. He is truly a wild card. Listening to the wild card podcast last week with him at the helm of it, really, it was. You can tell that there were so many of those leading the charge in that one. I'm pretty sure it was him.
There's a reason why they say goalies have a little bit of crazy.
Holy shit! So he's got my respect, and that was super fun to watch and really see that firsthand. But The thing that I was fascinated with the most last night was, again, I was really closely observing the Seals because of the fact that we're going to be playing them next week. McShannock and Whoop and Alan Z and Leroy, those are really magical pairings that has really worked well for Whoop. I wouldn't have believed it if you would have told me that at draft day, but it's a perfect balance because you have two risk takers and two conservative guys, and they really balance well with each other. So I watched Alan Z sneak in all night. I watched McShannock do his thing with his 9-foot high clappers and wristers, but he's sneaking in and dropping back, and it works because Whoop's going to be back and conservative in the right spot, and so is Leroy. And also for Alan Z, if anything's going on in the crease, Leroy's going to fucking clear that shit out, man. Guy's a man beast. You get anywhere near there, he's flicking you off to the side.
Yeah, their defense is. They're not the most shut down, but they're not bad by any means. You know, they like you said, they do have some offense to them as well, which puts you on your heels as the other team.
Yeah,
they can be beat, but they're not gonna like. You need to do something good to make them make a mistake.
So I got that badass goalie backing it all up.
That badass goalie. But the thing that I also noticed with them, I have noticed it before, but last night was really apparent because there was definite heat between Serta and Rattler. It was really fun to watch. And like I've played with Rattler in season 1, and I always want him on my team. He's really tough to play against, and he's a guy that's going to play all 200 feet, but he's also going to be the guy that goes into the corner and gets the puck every single time. So when you have that combined with Shawnee and you have that with Feaster, you've got 3 top-end guys that have ability to go and get it and retain it and make a play with it. It's just there's not a lot of holes there, so it's impressive. All that being said, the fact that you see Trent ring one off the crossbar, outchanced in the first for sure, and it was kind of a little bit more even in my opinion in the second, and then that was just kind of a, one little bit of a slip up, and boom, feaster factor.
Yeah, last thing on the game, Crunk did sub for the Seals. I thought he played really well. It was the most feisty I've seen him actually play.
Yep.
He was getting in front of the net. He was doing some pushing, some shoving. I think one of the things I've said out of him before is I didn't think he was being physical enough. I thought he really showed that. I saw a lot of improvement out of him, so I was really impressed by him there. And actually, I find it really fun to play against Pellet. We had a couple of times where he had some mix-ups. We kind of tripped over each other's feet, a little bit of pushing, a little bit of shoving, trying to get up. And afterwards, he just gives like a little tap with his stick. He's like, good play in there, good play in there. It's just like, he doesn't mind that. He doesn't get upset about it. Good-natured and all that was good. So I really like playing against him. So the next game on the agenda would be the Tigers versus the Americans. The Tigers won this one 5-1. Since we have Mr. Ryan Allen here, let's start with you. I know you were kind of coaching there, but let's start with your breakdown on this game.
I mean, I was thrilled with the Tigers' performance last night from start to finish. I mean, every single player went out there and did what they had to do. I mean, obviously, Matt Taylor put in 4 goals. Like,
he had 4? Is that what
I'm pretty sure that he scored 4 of them. So
shit.
Yeah.
Jagger.
Sorry, Americans, but not sorry. We're super happy to have him on the team. We had Dave P out there last night subbing in for Slocum. We love Slocum, but we tried to do our best to match his speed with the sub, and Dave P stepped it up for us. Happy to help him get a W in the night. Same for Weaver. Weaver's out there from the Whalers. Appreciate those guys showing up. But yeah, I mean, our team is really starting to come together. We're seeing great forecheck from even our D-men, and we've been changing things up a little bit on the Slack, the pregame, and pumping the guys up. We're happy about the trade. Just to go back to the Hetes comment, the Tigers locker room was basically dead quiet. We've got about 11 introverts on that team who just kind of sit there and get ready, play some music for them sometimes. But Hetes brings some conversation to the locker room, and that's exactly what we needed. So that was a big part of what we're doing there. And
now, Mr. Allen, you've been out the last couple of weeks. What's your prognosis for coming back anytime soon?
The timetable is still up in the air. I did head out to the recommended doctor from the MNL Players Association.
Dr. James Andrews, or
I went saw Beaumont's Alan Zachariah today.
Dr. Alan Z.
Alan Z. Dio. Looks like a groin strain. I'm going to have to do some exercises to get that back in shape. And we're going to do some tests and see if there's, make sure everything's good to go before I get back out on the ice.
When he got up there, did he?
Yeah, he was very professional, though. So
Yeah, has it affected any of your love life or anything like that?
No,
or is that
no.
nothing like
that's all
The
fine.
thrusting
You're good?
is-
You're good?
I mean,
Okay.
except for my love of hockey, which has been
All right.
fucking horrible the past few weeks. I've been able to stand there and watch all my friends play. And
I didn't even fucking realize. So you were there last night. I didn't realize you weren't playing.
Yep.
Mr. Allen's been in a relationship for many of years. He doesn't have a need for a love life anymore.
I have need. We all have needs.
Well, nothing that you
And,
wouldn't take care of yourself, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, man.
I've got a comment on the game.
Sure.
I didn't see the game, but I'm just happy that I was very happy when I walked out and I asked who won over on the other side at 10 p.m. that the Tigers won, and it made me very proud and happy that the two teams that participated in the trades won, and I was, Crunk was happy, Spicy was happy, and obviously the North Stars were happy. So that made me very happy that the two teams that. So if I can encourage the other GMs to just throw out those trades, do it.
So has anybody talked about Matt Lapoudre in the podcast?
Oh, we talk about him all the time. Don't you listen to the podcast?
I do, but I zone out sometimes. I'll admit.
I don't think there's been a lot of Matt Lapoudre talk.
I think there's some Matt Lapoudre love, but
Let's acknowledge his contributions, man. We got Ryan Allen in the house.
Yeah, we don't talk about it much on the Tigers just because we don't want anyone getting their eyes on him.
Oh, their eyes are all on him.
Yeah, he subbed last week for us in a losing effort, and it was a second game. He was still tired, and it was just amazing. I mean, it was just like, who is
Like,
this
where did
guy?
he come from? Except from
He was-
Eric, but like shit, man.
He just smart decisions. He was playing defense, jumping up in the rush at the right times. He's just playing solid against all the. And it's his second game. I'm like, are you gassed? And he's got the Lapoudre modesty and just calmness and coolness. And
dude,
it's just
easy
like,
ease in both of them.
Yeah.
Easy E can poke check anyone. He doesn't even have to move his feet. He can
You're right.
poke check it.
You're right.
Both of them.
You're right.
Yeah,
They're both
I've been
amazing.
the biggest Easy E fan forever.
He's amazing, man.
for the record, I've been trying to line up the Lapoudre brothers for a podcast. I haven't been able to lock them in right now.
Eric's at a bar every Tuesday, sitting there, and I love because I have walked in. I heard this story from somebody else,
It was me.
It was you, and how you walk into random bars and he's just sitting there, and I didn't even mention.
What do you mean
it to
random
him.
ones? He goes to a different one all the time?
I don't know
I-
because
I've
I don't even go to the bars anymore. I didn't even tell Ryan when he told me that really, but it hit me like it just struck me very funny because the few times I have seen him, I'm like I just kind of stare at the bar and I'll just see this bearded guy. I'm like, it's Eric. It's Eric. Is it Eric? Is it Eric? No, it's not Eric. No, it is Eric. And I'll just walk up and he'll be like, Eric, and he's just at the bar. And then Ryan Allen was telling us on the skate Wednesday night before Thanksgiving skate that he just hangs out at bars and he'll be just hanging out there. And I mean, he's just the nicest guy in
Eric
the entire
has his
world.
pregame ritual for the K folks.
That's
where he likes
true.
to go to Joe Cool's ahead of time. He
Yep.
gets some food, gets a drink. He sits up at the bar.
And I love it. That's me.
Type of thing. So that's a great thing. My last question for Mr. Allen before we move on to the next game is, I think the MNL fans, including Slack, obviously players, kind of see this rivalry between a Matt Taylor and a Proctor. Is there any,
How does that work?
a lot of people thought that Matt Taylor should have been drafted first. He's a new kid on the block.
okay.
That skill there. There's that I'm taking the throne. A lot of people said he should have been drafted first because even if he's not showing up or scoring, he's got the most skill in the league. Do you feel like there's any rivalry on the Matt Taylor side of this?
No, I think that the rivalry is probably more with the Seals, the 2-2 rivalry. Pfister and Proctor, I think, are much more even-keeled, so to speak.
So Matt Taylor's just so much above those two is what you're saying?
I mean, again, I'll go back to my default answer. If we don't like to talk about it, because keep your hands off Mr. Taylor.
I will take that as a yes.
You said you were on the Labatt's Blue. You said you're being more genuine and more open and honest with your opinions. I feel like you're being more covered here.
You know, when you come on the podcast, the trusted voice has to ask you the tough questions.
Arms crossed and everything. Look at his body language.
He's very like, I'm protecting myself right now, like hugging, don't come at me type of thing.
Tigers love Matt Taylor.
Release. Just say it. Yeah, he's way better than fucking Proctor any day of the week.
So
I'm not gonna say that.
Our next game on the agenda would be the North Stars versus the Mighty Ducks. The North Stars won 5-4. As the only North Star here, let's move over to Tye for your thoughts on this game.
I'll try to keep it brief. I mean, I'm just gonna say it's one game. It's you have to be smarter than to get too high or too low after one game, because this league is just all about parity. And 1 week you're feeling like amazing because you win, and 1 week you lose, and you're just like, what the hell's wrong with us? But then you just have to find that even keel and say, hey, it's a grind. All the teams are good, even the Deeks. It's like even the Deeks can beat you on any day of the week. But that being said, yesterday was probably the most fun game I have ever participated in Monday Night Lights, and I played in. Obviously, we're the most winning organization in Monday Night Lights history. The best winning percentage.
Fact check. Anybody?
Fact check. You can fact check that all you want.
What about your playoff record?
We don't need to talk about that. I'm just saying.
He believes it.
I'm just saying. When we hit the ice, we've won more times than anybody else. Playoffs, sure, it's a little sad. My whole point is I've played in a lot of fun games. I think of fun games. I think of when we had the Huggy line last year, and we brought Chad in, and we came back from 5-1 deficit. I think of year one when we beat Proctor and the Seals, and I told Swanee that I was going to score a hat trick, and I only scored 2, but I scored 2, which is freaking big ass news, and had him sweating. I think of a lot of last year when we played Game 3 against the Ducks and we beat them in a thriller. This game was the most fun game I think I've ever played, and I don't know if it was just the excitement from the trade. It was, I don't know. I mean, Doc Hollywood has a lot to do with it. Bringing back Gio is just so happy to be a North Star. It was just like his helmet seemed even more red and shiny. His smile seemed bigger and brighter. I don't even know what to say about it. It was just like, I felt like we were a combination of the Russian Five, maybe like the Russian Five, the Harlem Globetrotters, and I know it didn't look that way. I mean, I know if you watched it, it didn't. If I watched it on video, it's just the same old slow.
It was a great game. I'm shaking my head because of your description right now.
Well, I'm just saying there was a lot of passing. Like there was
real quick. You guys let up 4 goals against the last place team in the league.
Correct.
Is there concern at a defensive level right now for the North Stars?
There is a slight, very slight. The goals were strange. The goals that our goalie let in were a little odd. I can't even describe them to you because.
Would you say weak?
I can't be. I cannot. I can't because those goals where
Enter Fernandez.
Twinkle
Toes is here.
I was not on the ice for the goals. I was not on the ice for the goals against. I was sitting on the bench.
I didn't even see the
where
goals
people
against.
who don't let up weird goals sit. And so I'm like, I'm watching that, and there's like a big cluster in front of the net, and all of a sudden the Ducks raise their hand. So I can't even describe the goals. They're just like awkward, weird goals where all of a sudden they're raising their hand. That being said, Doc Holliday is like Dougie said, Doc Hollywood is not as fast as Pfister or Sutsy. But what he does do is he's got an amazing feel for the game, and he's a great passer, and he's just him and Gio were a magical combination. Just tic-tac. My 2 favorite plays of the game were, there were a bunch of times where it's just like back, tic-tock, and just Gio jams it in. But there was one particular one where he did that, and it was just multiple passes, and it just reminded me of the Harlem Globetrotters, like making a fool out of the Generals. I mean, that's where that comes from. And wait. Let me just continue, and I'll be done. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30
starting
seconds. 30
now.
seconds. My other favorite one was Marvin's goal, or Marvin's assist. Marvin gets the puck right next to me, and he's defense. And he just comes up. He's like, "Don't worry, Chocolate Thunder's got this." he whispered that to me on the ice, and I'm like, okay,
Wow.
buddy. And he just comes up down the sideline, and I thought he had gone too far. I thought he had like lost his chance to make any decent shot or pass, and he just slams it across right to Gio, and he just slams in the goal. And I was just like, it was just the most fun back and forth game, and I didn't know if everyone realized it, but then I read Dickie Dunn's article, and he was kind of saying the same thing. And I talked to a couple of people, and they had the same feeling. Like, it was just a weird back and forth game. And whoa! My favorite quote of the game. There was a quote like afterwards in the locker room, like Gio's smile. Like Gio was like so happy to be in that locker room. I don't know what the Deeks did to him. I don't know what you guys are doing over there. But his smile.
I'm cutting you off.
No.
No.
His smile was wider than the Po River in Italy. It was so beautiful. And he looks over at Maff, and he's like, because they were talking about Maff. Maff had a little altercation with Sugar, and Maff didn't. Maff doesn't back down. Maff's tough when he needs to be. And Gio looks over and he smiles with this big grin. He's like, "Man, you are still a true North Star heart, despite your political feelings, and I know how you feel, brother." And he's just like teeth shining out, and I'm just like, it was the best game ever. So
This is getting
I'm
weird.
sorry. It was
So
great.
I'm gonna
was
get to
great.
Doug in a
Matt didn't know just
second,
how to react,
but
it was great.
we did have a message from Italy from Grandma Gio
Oh, really?
that I did want to
So
play.
glad you saw.
Ty, you're actually muted. I don't know if you know that or not. So
He doesn't know.
we're gonna play that voicemail. Then, since Doug was keeping scoreboard, we're gonna get his reaction. But let's first go to our voicemail.
Mamma mia, this is Grandma Gio. I'm just so happy. I watched the game on the internet last night when I was drinking my wine and making some fettuccine alfredo for Grandpa Gio. It made me so happy to see my boy Gio buzzing up and down the ice with another good Italian boy. They have such a natural chemistry, they fit together like spaghetti and a meatballs. God bless the GM of the North Stars for saving my precious boy. It was so nice not to have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the stat sheet to find my Gio. 3 points in one night is always, it's the same amount he's had as the whole year with that Nordiques team. I mean, how can a boy named Panty run a team? I know, I like the Monday Night Lights. I like that little guy they call Mini Bona. He is a nice player, but he better watch out because the big bad red boner is coming for him. God bless my boy Gio, and God bless the North Stars. Hey, Mr. Trusty Voice, I trust you. You think the new look North Stars can win the Stanley Clay? I'll hand up and listen. Night, ciao, ciao.
Grandma Gio back again. We always appreciate your calls from overseas.
Did she call collect?
That's none of my business of how she calls. All I know is she calls, she leaves messages. The fans love her. So, super quick, as she asked the trusted voice a question about do I think they're gonna be able to win the keg? Anything's possible. I thought it before. Do I think they're gonna? No. Do I think they're gonna make it to the finals? No. As of today, I would say that my two favorites would probably be the I'm gonna go with the Seals and probably the Tigers as of right now are my two top favorites with the way that Matt Taylor has been playing as of now. But as we all know, season 1, the Whalers upset the North Stars. Anything can happen. There's always a chance. But as of today, I'm going to say no. But let's move back over to Doug. And you saw a lot of this game between the Ducks and the North Stars. What were your thoughts on it?
I was raising my hand because I was appalled. You did not acknowledge Cone. Are you shitting me?
Jumbo.
Holy fuck. The guy did everything last night on the ice. He's a man beast out there.
I love Conan. I to be honest, I reffed all the spring games, and that Serta Peso line was insane all spring
It
long.
was stupid.
But it was retarded. I mean, Cohen was just there by the net jamming everything in, and that's why they won. But I'll be honest, and Cohen put forth a great effort, and
He was
I don't
great.
think he looked quite as like he hasn't skated out quite as much. Like when he was in spring, he was like going to Hazel Park, skates and everything, and I think Cohen put a great effort on the
Shame,
beat line,
shame,
but
shame.
I don't think he was. Every time he'd come to the net, or he'd come to the bench, they had just scored, and then I'd be like, "Okay, don't worry, Cone. I got the goal. You let up the goal. I got." And that's just a friendly banter.
Yeah.
Because we appreciate his effort.
He
But,
almost
he was
like
good.
I think he rang the post on his very first shift.
Okay.
Yeah,
So back to your assessment of the game.
It was super fun to watch. I mean, I intended to go and do a little bit of recon on the other game too, but I just couldn't peel myself away because it was chancy both ways, and just fun to watch. And it was fun to watch Gio and Pete have fun and succeed in the new team, and fun to watch Kono out there. Just you guys have good balance now. It was fun to watch that.
It was. I felt weird. It felt different, and I know it's not just me being on the. It's not just me being on the podcast and saying that it had a weird feel. It was like
good.
boxing. It was like haymaker. Like,
Was there ever a 2-goal lead?
We were up 5-3.
Yeah,
but and then they got the goal with 30 seconds to make us sweat. But it was 3-3 after the second. But it was just always opportunity. I mean, Ryan Z gave up 5 goals. Not one was cheap. Not even close to being cheap. And we could have had 8, 9, 10. In my opinion, but he saved a bunch of goals, like the save of the year. So
what a difference for the Ducks to have Turtleback, man.
Their team, dude. When you look at their lineup, I was scared. Like I looked at it, it is a solid team. Like we did not beat the lowly Ducks in last place. That lineup is for real, and that's why I stay. That's why I'm worried for the Deeks. It's not because I'm trashing the Deeks, even though I may just kind of want to joke with Panny and Koner. It's because the Ducks lineup is scary looking.
The crazy thing about their lineup is, like, I was going back and forth, so I didn't see the whole game. And I think someone said this in Slack today was, every time I looked over, it didn't look like Ben and Turtle were skating hard. I was like, Turtle looks like he's a little late, like lackadaisical, like maybe he's not fully back. But they were making good plays, and they were putting up points. So maybe it wasn't that they weren't trying, like, not the whole like hustle thing. They just didn't need to because they were making the plays they need to, and they were playing, work smarter, not harder type of thing. Where it was super impressive. Where it was like, oh, they're not doing that, but then also it was like, oh shit, look what they're actually doing, which is a lot more impressive than looking at some dumbass who's skating as hard as he can and then crashes his head into the boards.
Well, they have a formidable line, and on D with both Bronny and Rubel back there. Look out! I mean, I said last week when we knew they were coming, like just guns out for us. Everybody knew that, but we weren't expecting the whole Turtle shit. That was the last minute shenanigans. That's a enormous difference maker. So seeing him do it again last night actually made me feel a little bit better about.
And when
our
it
team.
comes down to it, I mean, when I look at the standings, it's like, oh, in a lot of ways you want the Ducks to be down because you want to make sure you ensure the playoffs. But I'd much rather have Turtle back playing good than Turtle be out and have some kind of injury because just like we were saying earlier, we want MNL to be a healthy, happy place type of thing. So moving on real quick, we have Troy's our power rankings where we have Seals number 1, the Tigers 2, North Stars 3, Americans 4, Whalers 5, Ducks 6, and the Nordiques 7th. Mr. Ryan Allen, the Tigers have shot up to number 2. What are your thoughts on that, and can you guys take the number 1 spot coming up?
I mean, we still got some work to do. We're, I think, 6 points down from the Seals.
These are power rankings, though. These are where you guys are at right now. You
Right,
guys have been one of the hottest teams in the league.
Well, Seals have been regularly putting in, 2-to-1 goal ratio. So we still have work to do. But with Taylor's performance last night, I mean, just incredible. Like, Dave P was the tiniest boner I've ever seen on our bench. He's begging to be traded to our team. Watching Matt Taylor out there. Just burying pucks on J-Flo. And, J-Flo is not a shitty goalie by any means. He's very good. So I don't know. Maybe a week or 2 from now, it could be Tigers up there.
And then Tye, the North Stars bounce up to number 3 with this trade and then the win. Is this the correct spot for you guys? Should you guys be higher or lower?
Yeah, that's about right. I like where we're at. I'm all about being patient this season, and since the last time we've been on a 2-game losing streak. Although I thought we played well against the Americans. It's just we got proctored again for the second straight time. But I think with all this new excitement, I mean, we are something to be number 3. We're definitely should be above the Whalers and the Ducks and Nordiques. There's no question about that. I'm fine with giving the Tigers beat the Americans. We did not beat the Americans. I'm fine with being below them. The Seals have earned their first place prize, so we shouldn't be. So we should be next behind the Seals and the Tigers. I think that's totally accurate. But we are coming on strong, and I love it.
And I would say the nice thing about this year is there doesn't seem to be any pushovers. Anybody can beat anybody this year. There are, the Mighty Ducks are behind in the points, the Nordiques are behind in the points, but none of these teams are pushovers, where in the past I wouldn't say that is the case. So going over to the standings right now, we do have the Golden Seals with 24 points, Americans 20, Tigers 18, North Stars 17, 16 for the Whalers. The Nordiques have 13, followed by the Mighty Ducks. Now, the North Stars, who are on a bye this coming week, they've played one more game than everybody else. So usually what we kind of do here is I would say the the Golden Seals, they're looking pretty good for that bye. I think right now the race, I would say, is between the Americans and the Tigers. I'm going to go over to Venandi. Who do you think has the inside track for that second bye?
Well, I mean, the Americans have the tough Proctor Antioch, who can score at any point. But I think the Tigers are a better team. I think the Tigers. I think Tigers are going to win the keg.
Should I tell Trent and Serta this?
Of course, if it's not us,
All right. Okay.
it's going to be them.
Okay.
We're all analysts
Certainly
here
not
right
gonna
now.
be the
This is not
shit-ass
people
North
on a
Stars.
team.
But no, they're a solid team, and the Taylors are tough, and they got a solid team. So I think they're a team to beat for sure. I think they're good.
Now, Dougie, we're looking at, you guys still have a 4-point lead on the Ducks. What are you guys looking at right now? What's your concern on making the playoffs versus other teams?
The concern short term is we're playing the Seals next week, so we aren't assuming any points there. Let me say, I am not assuming any points on that game. So if the Ducks are playing next week, they could potentially get within 1 point of us. It's going to be a freaking horse race for the last round of the league. So I really don't know. I just know, like, right now I've got a 1-game outlook, and we're playing the freaking Seals.
It's one of those things that you're playing one game at the time, but I don't know about you. You're kind of looking at those bottom teams, and you're, right now, the Whalers, we've been an up and down team all year. We started out kind of down, we went up, went down a little bit, went back up where we're, last week or this week, if we would have beat the Seals, all of a sudden we're in contention for that bye. Now we're back down where it's like, a little bit scary there type of thing. So then you start looking at, you want those bottom teams to be losing so that you're making sure they're not gaining points on you.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm mixed. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but I want to make the playoffs. So if the Ducks...
Saying a team lose, I don't think is ill will. You don't want injuries, you don't want concerns there, but versus a team getting a point or not, that's not really ill will.
Yeah, I mean, well, in that case, then yeah, I'd like to see that there's more separation. 4 points is nothing, man. That's 2 weeks worth of play. 2 losses for one team, and a couple of points or a win and a little bit for the other team. So I mean, we'll have to see how it turns out.
Who do the Ducks play next week?
Yeah, I'd like
Ducks
to know.
are playing the Tigers.
Yeah.
Ooh, God, these
So
are
I mean,
huge.
if we're talking Vegas odds here, Golden Seals, Americans, Tigers are probably going up 3 points each next week, right?
No, I think the Ducks are going to beat the Tigers.
Well, they better show up.
I would
Are you serious?
I would bet a lot of money. Dude, I think the Ducks are for real.
I got $10 right now.
I got 20.
Done.
It's official bet, and I'm not just saying that for the 8 fans online right now watching. The Ducks are good. The Ducks are not bad at all.
Nope.
And
No, they are not a bad team.
They're not good.
And they beat us
And
last time we played them, actually.
did they? Oh,
Yes,
did they?
Damn
See,
it.
I think they're way more balanced than you
Damn it.
guys.
Now, Ty,
But
Did
you
Matt Taylor
you
play?
guys have raised yourself up to 4th place in the
Yes.
league, but at the same time, you guys have a bye, and you guys have
scared.
played one more game than anybody else.
Yeah.
So does that give you guys a false sense of security right now, or are you just kind of looking?
I don't think there's a false sense of security. Like I said, I think the Deeks are falling fast. I know we can always beat the Whalers. I'm not worried about the playoffs. I'm just worried about being better and priming. I think I'm very curious to see how this is. I wish the well on the Nordiques. I want Judge. I would love it if Judge just freaking scored a hat trick, and who else did I got? Cunningham. I hope Cunningham comes out there. I want them to. I just know it's a tall task. The Seals are a great team. Seals are balanced. They have the great goalie, and they're just there's no weakness out there. So I know the Nordiques have a super tough task. The Tigers are equally, are very good. I don't think they're as good as the Seals like Dave thinks. I think the Ducks can beat them. I think the Ducks are just ready. They're primed. I think they ran into a buzzsaw called the North Stars, who were just like, we're new, we're trying hard. They ran into something they couldn't, but they beat the Nordiques 6-0. I'm being honest.
Can I just take a second here?
Like
and say,
the Ducks are going to kill the Tigers. Is what I'm trying to say.
Props to the North Stars media prep team, because this is fantastic propaganda all night long.
Well, we will see. We will see. We will see. This is my official prediction. I think the Nordiques play very valiantly and tough, but I think the Golden Seals are just too much. Like, I want the Nordiques to beat the Seals. Can't stand my brother Todd walking around strutting his stuff. I even more than all this standing and making the playoffs and the hoo-hoo and all that stuff. And I don't think that they played well against the Whalers. They should have lost to the Whalers. The Whalers had them in the palm of their hands and just fucking let them squeak out.
I agree on that.
So,
Same.
that being said, I just don't know if the Nordiques can do it. I will be pulling Nordiques heavy. Even with this bet, I don't give a shit. I'm rooting Nordiques. I'm just trying to be honest here.
Wait, what are we betting on?
$20.
That's a different game.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, $20 on the. Wait, what are you? You're a Deeks.
I was betting on the
Tigers,
I was betting
Ducks.
Tigers, Ducks.
Oh, so we're betting on that. That's perfect. So then I don't have to have mixed things. I think the Ducks are a great team. I think they're so balanced. You write that lineup down, and I was scared looking at them. I'm like, holy shit! Like, they have great defense, they have a great goalie, and they have a great offense. So
And who doesn't root for Ben's success?
everybody roots for Ben's success, but I think if I had to predict, just like I did at the beginning of the year, the Nordiques will be in last, and that's not a dig on them. I just feel that's the way it's going to shake out. And the Whalers should be worse, but they're just somehow eking out somehow.
What?
I just did that for you.
Because that 10th round or 10th?
I was trying to see if you were awake. I was just checking. That was Dave Venande's sleep check.
Here I am. No, I'm good. I'm here.
I saw a couple head snaps.
He was like, what?
I'm here.
Wait.
And as soon as I start scoring goals, it's over, bitch.
But Ty, last time we played you guys
Hello.
didn't come to play.
That is true. And that's why we made a bunch of trades. And and you had Pistol Pete instead of Serta, and you guys played fantastic, and I give you all the props. Mini boner was over. I'm not. You guys played fantastic. We can move on to the next topic. I thought you played fantastic. I have nothing. You guys outplayed us, and we've since made 5. We have 5 out of 11 new players. So, boom.
So that
Same
brings us to
result.
next week's game. It's actually the last week of our second rotation in the league. We have 3 going on. We have the Mighty Ducks versus the Tigers. We have the Americans versus the Whalers. And we have the Golden Seals versus the Nordiques. I'd look at all 3 of these games. They're very important. I think as we look at every week, it's always concentrating on the bottom of the standings. So you're looking at the Mighty Ducks, Whalers, which have a little bit of a cushion at 7 points, and the Nordiques. You know, these teams need points. They need to ensure that they're locking in those playoffs. If you had to say something, I'm probably looking at the Tigers versus the Mighty Ducks as that game of the week, because obviously with 9 points, it's must win for the Ducks. They have to consistently keep getting points until they catch those Nordiques or get closer to those Nordiques, because they're still in trouble until something else happens.
And that's a primetime game, 9?
They should be the 9 o'clock game based off that. So, like, to me, that's the game of the week. It's the perfect time slot. And, you know, do you expect you're probably going to be out, I assume, again, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, until further notice, we'll be
I'm available.
IR.
I think the Tigers are the best squad out there.
You just bet against us.
Shit! I fucked
I'm pretty sure sub rules force you to play for us, though. So
The North Stars
conflict
are.
of
Oh,
interest.
look at this.
You know,
Pete Rose.
I want to know. I'm with the Americans. The Americans had very bad, salty vibes since when I lost one game with them, and they blamed it all on me. But I will try my hardest.
What's the new reference? Somebody was in Slack today talking about a football player, NFL, bet against his team or something.
Am I?
I didn't understand the.
Some
I didn't
dude
read
on
it.
So there was an
Cardinals.
NFL player on the Cardinals who actually bet against his team and bet on the NFL. They got suspended for like about a year.
How did they find out about it?
That's insane.
I was too lazy to read about
I
it.
know,
So
that's
he also
curious.
bet in parlay bets. Apparently, he bet against his own team as well.
At least
so.
Pete Rose, all accounts says that he's just betting on his team. He's just like, we are winning. I mean, you gotta.
Is that true? I've never looked into it. Yeah.
No, Pete Rose was always he was a gambler, but he was the feistiest player.
He wasn't
Do
throwing a
all the
game.
dirt. No, he was not throwing the game. He's
Yeah,
betting on
but-
himself, saying we're gonna win.
That
I mean,
could be an hour-long podcast
Yeah,
between
I'm
us
just
as
saying.
itself. But the fact is Pete Rose didn't bet on every game that his team played. So you could say he knew shit that his team was going to lose when he didn't bet on his own team. So when you're looking at bookies and what kind of advantages, disadvantages they could have, him not betting on every game, it's still pretty shady. So my last thing on the agenda is like I said, next week we're looking to have our All-Star announcements followed by our draft the following week. We're looking to have our family night / skills competition on December 30th. I think some of the stuff we're looking for is what events are we actually looking for out of a skills competition? Does anybody have any thoughts on what they'd like to see? I think we know, possibly fastest skater event, shootout, anything you could think of on top of that. Hopefully we won't have that dumb NHL one where it's like, oh, put a hat on and try to score a goal on a goalie.
I honestly don't care. I thought there were two decent ideas. I thought having some kind of a team relay where you have you make your best team out of the people that are showing up on your team, and you have to have the aggregate amount of the draft pick number to be a minimum. So you have to have, like, if it was 26, you can have your 10th rounder, you can't have just your 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to have a combination, and they have to add up to a certain amount. And so it makes you include some shitty players on your team and have some kind of a competition, whether it's a relay race or some kind of skills little obstacle course, whatever it is. I thought that might be fun. So you just kind of have a little team thing, like, okay, we're going to pick our players that are going to participate and do it. That might be fun. The other one I'd like to do a one-on-one with Busta and just a one-on-one skills competition and bury him just for the fans. Just for the fans. This is a bender.
Bury him in what?
We can
Skills
have bets,
competition
just
in
a
what?
skills, like anything, like any skill that he
Are we going to
thinks.
have a decathlon?
We can do whatever you want. Run around the ice rink, then come in, and then we can shoot things with a gun or a bow and arrow, and then we can do whatever you want. It would be fun just to have a one-on-one with Buster and I.
Well, I'll tell you what. If the Tigers end up pulling you in next week against the Ducks,
I will win.
you will have your opportunity. But we're gonna have to work out the bet and all that.
I've never, if you know anything about the Ottos, and Troy subs on many teams and talks trash about many teams, and Todd does the same, we try our asses off, and I would fucking, who are we playing?
The Ducks.
We're playing the Ducks? I just beat the Ducks. I know how to beat the Ducks,
all
baby.
right. So back to the skills competition. I think those are some good ideas, Ty. I have no doubt the Ivory Tower will come up with some creative ideas to make this work and be fun for everybody. We're gonna have a limited time slot on the ice, so got to make sure the logistics are all planned out.
We
And-
have 2 hours on the Olympic ice.
Yeah, but you get guys out there and we're goofing around. It's hard to hear people communicating. We got to make sure that the schedule's set. If anyone out in the league has ideas, they want to see something happen, some sort of event competition, let us know.
Are we gonna have a strong showing from the female contingent or what?
I think that's the plan. Yes.
Is that what's inferred
I
by
think
family?
all the wives and girlfriends must bring a friend.
Yeah.
Female friend. Bring a
We're
friend.
also doing
It's called
Female
It's called the +1 All-Star.
Female
never
single
bring anyone
friend.
around you. I never.
What?
I would never bring anyone around you. What? Never. No. And on top of that, I feel like we should just make it a 2-hour competition between Tyrone and Busta.
Just watch us.
And that's it.
I
Like,
thought, I
no
thought
one
Peso
else-
was a predator. I didn't know he was a predator.
Oh, he's the worst. Look at him. Look at him.
A body like this, the girls can't resist. I used to be good looking back in my day. Sometimes I act like I still am. I don't know.
Either way, I'm looking to throw my hat in the fastest skater. I think I'm probably 2-1 odds to win that one, but outside of that, I don't know what other competitions
Forwards
are.
or backwards?
Oh, forward.
Yeah.
Forward, definitely.
The only idea I have is like if there is the +1, the inclusion of the +1 for some sort of a actual skill.
They probably have to sign a waiver, but outside of that, I'm cool.
Yeah, I
with
know,
it.
right? Because they don't have helmets and shit. Because they're gonna be out there skating in their just coats and mittens and shit.
I think some couple events could be fun for the friends and family.
This is also
wives.
doubling as the audition for the MNL Shovel Squad, right?
Yeah,
This is
I'll tell D.
This was a
She'll
Myers
love that shit.
brainchild.
Yeah.
He
Dougie's
wants-
wife's got a clapper on her, does she? Or what?
Probably better than mine. Pretty safe assumption.
So, yeah, that's all I have as of right now. Sorry, I got a little bit caught up in that chat. Apparently, I was saying we had 2 hours for the competition. Drager saying no. I thought we had 2 hours on an Olympic ice for the competition, an hour on the NHL for family night. But it might not quite work that way. We'll see how it goes.
I got a question just for the general discussion.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I forget who asked me last night. Actually, it was Fem asked me last night. He's like, "There's always an hour of unused ice on the NHL rink when we get there."
I agree. I was wondering.
There
the same
isn't
thing.
always one. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was actually a game. Sometimes there are practices. Now, there is probably 50% of the time where I know there's probably a lot of us in our mind that's like, could we expand to 8 teams and go
Actually, that's not what I'm saying.
2 hours? Well, that's on my mind.
That's also on my mind, but where I was going with the point, and I agree with what Fem was saying is, could we potentially as a league rent that ice as well and give it as general open ice for that bye-week team to maybe do some shit, or just in general even warm up early or whatever?
So I think that would come down to, as a league, are we willing to pay? We'd essentially have to
Yes.
rent that ice. We'd have to divide up the cost equally amongst everybody else. I think the real question, well, first of all, there's a couple questions there. One, is the ice actually available for that whole amount of time?
Right.
2, are we willing to split that amongst our 70 skaters? Or if it was available and we wanted it, would we prefer to try to get 80 skaters and go 8 teams where you play every week? I think there's a lot of questions involved in that are worth talking about.
Agree.
As part of the Ivory Tower, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Mr. Allen.
Yeah, I mean, things have been talked about. Different ideas have been tossed around, but it really comes down to, ice availability. Is the rink going to support us? Whatever we decide to do with that ice, if we do decide to want it, it's going to bump the cost of the league up probably 33%, right? Because we're renting 3 sheets every Monday night. It would be 4 sheets. So I think financially, it makes more sense to expand to an 8th team and put that extra game on.
Yeah, I would personally be in favor just because I know at least myself, I prefer not to have the bye week. I would prefer to play each week. That's just me personally. Maybe we wouldn't even want the ice. Maybe it's not available as well. But I would prefer the 8 team over that. It would help keep costs down for everybody.
I would
So,
I would
don't
prefer
know.
the 8th team as long as it's not. The timing needs to be right. We can't be bringing in guys that we are a little bit suspect about. We've had a couple of guys that have come and gone, and I don't want to necessarily include those guys. I don't want to say names, but as long as we have guys that we know that are wanting to play in the league and understand what, and I'll say my opinion. This is Doug's voice, people. That it's good guys, man. We're not looking to do stupid shit. We're not looking to hurt each other. We're looking to show up every week and have fun and maybe drink a couple beers in the parking lot. As long as it's still guys like that and we have enough guys to populate an 8th team, then I'm all 100% for it.
And I would say at the same time is you hear a lot of people that's like, hey, I got this guy, I got that guy, I got this guy. There's times where we have those Saturday skates in the morning. other times, possibly we need sub for the Worms or other teams. If you're truly interested in getting your buddy in, try to get them involved in those skates, for the subs, for the other ones. Get them to be known amongst people. I mean, Dylan, Dave P brought him up to sub for the Worms. He subbed for us 2 or 3 times. That's where he got his initial look. He was able to sub or, fill in for a couple other subs, come into some of those skates. And it was like, yeah, this guy's a good guy. There's other goalie possibilities. But people saw he was a good fit for the league skill-wise.
Wild card.
And, saw that. Where if someone truly wants to try to get in a league like this, and there's those skating opportunities, come on, skate with us, get to know people, hang out a little bit after those skates. And that's your best chance, I think, at least for me, of getting into the league. Obviously, if you're, some superstar that's way above our level, you're not going to, we can't let you in. But if you fit in skill-wise and you're a good guy and we see your level, I don't see why you wouldn't.
What is the consensus in the Ivory Tower? If I can't ask the guys that are in the room, is it about specifically to the 8th team topic? Is it about the availability of guys to actually fulfill an actual team?
I think it's more about the ice time.
I don't think it's ever been an issue about numbers. We've always had plenty of people.
Okay.
I mean, just if you look at the sub list, I think that makes up a bunch of people that would join. I think numbers is not an issue. It's just whether we can get the ice time. And I was thinking the same thing as you, as we're warming up last night on the NHL ice before the 10 p.m. game. I'm like, there's nothing going on here. Why the heck do we not have this ice? So I don't know. Like Piercy said, maybe like some days they don't. I don't know why it's definitely not. Whatever it is, it's not as rock solid as when you go on the Olympic ice before the 9 o'clock game. There's that honey baked team. That's basically every single time.
Yeah.
Whatever is going on the NHL is at least not that solid.
Carving the absolute shit out of the ice with their little arc drills.
So whatever is going on the NHL, it's not that solid. And it gives hope for I'd love to just have the 8th team there.
Yeah, I want to say
forget the bye weeks, and the numbers is not an issue. Like it's not.
I want to say 2 years ago there was someone practicing there every week, or last year every week there was people practicing there. It's hit or miss this week as far as I've seen. There's a game about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I guess it kind of comes down to would they be interested in essentially saying we will commit to this for the full season versus spot ones. It just kind of depends on how stuff comes in,
and
what their commitments are in. Obviously, and this is me just talking out of my ass, is, they obviously have a commitment to Honey Bake. They have those private locker rooms. They probably want to give them some VIP access to some of that ice. So there's probably a fine line there. So we just have to, my assumption is that we have to hope that ice opens up. And if it can, at least in my opinion, is we should try to jump on it if it's available.
I think we'll get 8 next year. I just think it's destiny. I think we've been patient. We've waited. We've grown slowly, and within our limits, we haven't gone like crazy and expanded and gotten assholes. I think every year we add good people, and I think we got good people this year, and we've just got a waiting list. It's only 10 guys and a goalie, and I think we definitely have that. And
goalies, at least in the past, have been a scary thing. I think we're up to a good group of 7 goalies. I think we know possibly some other goalies. Other goalies can be found. So I think the hardest thing in the past has been expanding goalies, because we had goalies that dropped, goalies that got hurt, type of thing. Where now, if we only have to find one goalie, it makes it a lot easier. Even someone like a leader or a Swanee or someone like that, if they were to come back, we have that there as well.
And honestly, in terms of actually getting the ice, because we've observed this, we have leverage. We can say, you guys aren't using it all the time. What's the price going to be? We can probably get a little bit of a price discount.
And at least for me, I don't know how other people feel. If it's like that 9 o'clock sheet for the NHL, if we got to pay a couple extra bucks per sheet and it drives up the price of $20 per guy total on the season, to me, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know how people feel, but if you look at it, we have a pretty good damn deal. Like, we're probably cheaper than Troy is for a league, and we're getting jerseys. So if we drove up a couple extra bucks per person, it's probably going to be worth it.
I'm still skeptical that people would show up to use it properly. I'm just saying it selfishly because, me and Fem are looking at each other. I'm personally thinking, shit, man, for us, because we're on a bye week, we just made a trade, like significant trade for our team for the dynamics. It'd be pretty great to go out there and try to do some reps. Not that I know what the fuck I'm doing, but at least we can go out there and skate together to get a feel for things. So imagine that, like actually having that bye week team get a little bit of a rep out there to have a little bit of a practice, aside from actually going and like getting ice on their own or
Sticks and pucks.
Yeah, it's definitely a great idea. I mean, the league management is keeping their eye on it, and we're gonna do what's best for the league moving forward. Just a reminder, Bob Gibb is trying to sell sheet of ice this Saturday morning if the Nordiques are looking for a little extra practice. We had 11 guys.
Yeah, get those
He
Deeks
looked
out
at he looked at me and he squinted. Shit.
Yeah. If you want some goddamn practice,
I mean,
get your ass out
if
there.
the Deeks want to win next week, and maybe that's maybe that's on the docket. But back to the expansion talks. It's talked about. Everyone wants it. It's just a matter of time, and the league management, Ivory Tower, is gonna get together and chat about it on occasion, especially during the summertime. And if it makes sense, we'll do it. But we
Who's
grow
gonna be
this
the GM
league.
though?
We scale this league up as it makes sense.
But yeah, I'm sure we're doing the best we can on that side of things. I'm sure seems like we have a good relationship with the rink. Let's keep it up. I think a lot of people would prefer not to try to get an 11 o'clock time sheet on there. And I think that's another big thing where we all, in leagues in Troy, we got to play those 11 o'clock games. Does anybody really want to do that? So keep that in mind too. Let's be, look at all the options there. So let's not go overboard as well. So that's all I personally have there. Does anybody else have anything else they would like to discuss?
I think I'm good.
I think we nailed it.
Do we want to talk more about the North Stars and how?
No,
Cut him off. I'm going to mute
North
him.
Stars are the pets.
mute that mic.
But anyways, I would like to thank our guest, Dougie Fresh. What is this number 2 time on the podcast? Dave Venandi, forced into the podcast. I hope it wasn't that bad on you.
Delightful.
You said that a little bit of like
For reals, delightful.
Mr. Tye Otto, second time I think in like 3 weeks.
I had a great time again. I was a little more nervous this time because this one, anyone can have a 1 Pete report performance, and I know we were the highest ratings of the podcast, and you keep texting me.
Those 60 views, man. 60 views.
You've never had higher ratings, and it's hard for it to be that good.
We
So
passed
it's kind of like
20 view
it's kind
plateau.
of like
Yeah,
it's
I
kind of
mean,
like when if
60
you're at the bar and
views,
you pick up a chick and you have a great night out with her and you just have that right you swindle her into bed that night and you
Grab
have
her
that
by
right
the-
amount.
Swindle.
You might have that
That's a
right
great
amount
word.
of alcohol in you
It's
where
not used often enough.
you're not like a 2-minute man, but you can just do whatever you want all night long, and then you wake up in bed for round 2 in the morning and you're sober and it's like 10
just
seconds,
gone.
10 seconds long, and then you're just like, all right, see you later. Last night was your special
Less
performance.
swindling in the
You
morning.
wake up in the morning sober. She's 50 pounds heavier, and you last
Yeah, and
90% less.
And 2 seconds later, you're like, oh God, I was much better last night. And
Hey, in
just walk
Ontario,
out.
we call that whiskey dick.
Yeah.
You should have wrapped it up when you had the
All right,
chance.
all right, good. There you go. That was it. All right. So I'm glad thank you for having me again.
So we'll see how the ratings are this time. We'll see if it's actually Whoop's doing or if Ty's doing. I have
Oh,
a feeling
shit.
it's Uncle Whoop's
shit.
doing. And then we had our surprise guest of the night that I didn't even know about, Mr. Ryan Allen. I kept bugging you about coming on the podcast. I'd like you thank you for showing up. It was a nice surprise.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's my first time. and
First
it's
time
been fun.
coming in. And again, like I said, we're looking to announce the All-Stars next week. If you're looking to come in anytime, we'd love to have you. We're looking for those Lapudre brothers. We're looking for Fem and AJ, those cousin duos as well. It seems like people like it when we mix it up for the podcast. So let us know if you want to come in. But besides that, I think we are over. We'll talk to you later. Bye.